today, Otho Gold is sitting here thinking about church experiences. You know, when I was growing up, I remember being in this old church and being in the choir, but there was one guy in the choir who always had his hands in his pockets, and he was jingling change. And so while the minister's saying his prayer, all you hear is this jingle, 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 jingle from his pants. It was the most distracting thing and got to be awfully funny, you know, because he did it every week. I also sang in the church choir as a volunteer choir, but it got to the point that my social studies teacher, who was a member of the church and was the choir director, she expected me to be there every Sunday. And I reached a point where I'd come out of Sunday school and I would duck out. I would try to hide from her because if she saw me, she would come over, put her hands on me, and pull me into the choir room to rehearse, and I was stuck singing in the choir. But anyway, we've all got funny church stories. I was talking with a minister here just today, and he was telling me that back in the 80s, he had an experience with one of those lavalier microphones. Well, the choir had sung, and he had gotten up to preach, but he was still getting over the stomach flu. So you know what his stomach felt like. He felt something moving, and so he called the choir back to sing, and he ran out as they sang, "Let the Lord have his way." Now, the minister barely made it out of the auditorium when suddenly his wife ran into the men's restroom and said, "Your mic is still on." Needless to say, that minister came back to the pulpit and he just dismissed the congregation. See, he had that microphone attached to his chest. Anyway. Now, another preacher was into his sermon about 30 minutes or so when the battery started going dead on his microphone, and you could only hear about every other word that he was saying. So he asked someone back in the sound room if they could bring him another mic, so they did. But upon returning to the closed-in sound room, I guess the young man had forgotten to turn off the mic, and wouldn't you know it, that silly battery had a little life left in it. And all you could hear for what seemed like forever was those two young boys in the sound room engaged in a contest of who ate the most beans the night before. My pastor friend was telling me today that he was giving a welcome and announcements to begin a service, and it was Palm Sunday. So he briefly was sharing how Jesus rode into town on a donkey. And the parishioner inquired if anyone in the audience had come to church on a donkey. Well, a reply came from a woman in the audience at the very back. She pointed to her husband and said, "No, but I came with one." And it was pandemonium. And finally, my minister friend was telling me that one time he sneezed when he was preaching. He sneezed really hard, and the mother of all snot fired out of his nose like a cannon. And it took him about 5 minutes to clean up the mess and regain his composure. You can imagine all those people watching a snot ball come out of a nose cannon. Some people said that they can still see it when they close their eyes. And that minister, he occasionally references it to this day. Well, y'all be good. I'm sure you've got some church stories of yourself. Be sure and share them with Otho if you feel up to it. Bye.